Who is up for a little conversation of the outdated health and wellness trends that we are leaving in 2025? Because that is what this series is going to all be about. Welcome to another episode of Learn with Flo. Super excited to come at you guys today with a brand new series. I'm not going to be leaving 2025 without a bang as we kind of think about it being December already and rounding out another year. I think this year we've seen a lot of different health and wellness trends really come onto the scene. And especially, like I said, if you've been in more of the shoes of the alternative or more of the functional and natural alternative medicine space, it just keeps getting a little bit more and more wild. And I think what a lot of people are losing sight of is the bigger picture. And that's where my brain just cannot help but zoom out and look at the bigger picture of things. And I think we need some serious rebranding around some of the concepts that we are internalizing and believing as health, and things that we feel like maybe are part of a health promoting picture, but maybe aren't really giving us the return on investment that we're truly looking for. So I want to take this outdated health and wellness trend series, and we're going to divide it into three major parts. The first part that we're really going to dive into today is going to be all about this nutritional rebrand that I think we all need around the understanding of protein. Now, I'm team protein through and through, so don't think that this is going to be a conversation of completely knocking on protein, but I think we need to be abundantly clear that we have completely missed the mark when it comes to understanding this concept of protein, especially if our idea of healthy is adding protein powder and cottage cheese to everything and calling it protein. Right? We've missed the mark on a lot of things here. And I think I want to really throw at this a different alternative viewpoint to something that's maybe even more important than protein, and what I want to see as the trend really come into play in 2026. That's not just trying to proteinify. Is that a word? I just made up a word. Proteinify everything and calling it health promoting or calling it blood sugar balancing, because I'm seeing a lot of individuals that are not getting that return on investment that they're truly looking for. So I feel like I said, going into 2026, I want us to be done with this whole concept of like protein chasing everything. It is not about eating our weight in cottage cheese anymore. It's definitely not about hacking our health through counting macros and hitting some arbitrary protein number without understanding what happens to our body when we eat certain foods, right? We're completely disregarding the conversation around digestion, around hormones, around energy. Like, it's all falling apart when all we're thinking about is counting protein, counting grams of protein, shooting for a gram protein equivalent every day. That's really not what protein was ever meant to be. And that's why it's falling short for so many individuals out there, men and women alike. So today is going to be a doozy, and this whole series is going to be a doozy, because I really want to talk about some of the misguided modern wellness trends that I hope we can just leave to die in 2025, and going into 2026 offer you a much more simple and much more effective understanding around all of these health and wellness trends, and one of them really being nutrition health and wellness trends that seem to kind of ebb and flow in and out of the sphere. But this like overhyped obsession with protein to me, and then the underrated power of fiber, is really what I want to talk about today, because this is truly what is fueling our metabolism, is balancing our hormones and regulating inflammation at the root, which is ultimately what a lot of individuals that come into my clinic are looking for. They know that their gut doesn't feel great. They know that their hormones feel like absolute chaos. Things feel like a mess. They feel like they're inflamed, but they don't really understand what they may be doing that they think is healthy, and they're doing it with good intentions, but they're actually not either executing it the way that it was meant to be executed, like the focus on protein, or they are actually missing the mark, and it's not the protein that their body is asking for. It's actually more of the fiber piece of the puzzle. So somehow we've arrived at this point where we're adding protein to everything. We're adding, it's like protein oatmeal, protein cold brew. Look at Starbucks. They just launched their whole line of like protein coffees. And it's like, I just have to laugh sometimes, because then you see all these individuals who are like, I drink a Starbucks protein coffee and my gut was a disaster. I'm like, yeah, that's because coffee is not protein. Like, stop trying to make coffee protein. Like, it's not going to do what we think it's going to do. We're putting protein in salad dressings, in pancake mixes, even ice cream. And it's just like, don't even get me talking about like the cottage cheese glow up of 2025. Like, if you know, you know, right? But despite all of this like thought process and pushing of protein in our faces, you cannot walk down a freezer aisle or even a packaged food aisle without seeing protein everything. Protein wraps, protein chips, protein pasta, protein oatmeal, protein waffles. It's like there's protein in everything. And honestly, it's just a marketing ploy, because eating those things that are labeled protein, but they're very clearly not a true protein product, it's not having the hormonal benefit or the hormonal impact that we think it is. So we really need to kind of remove ourselves or peel ourselves back from this counting of protein, from hitting protein macro targets and chasing this like 30 grams of protein per meal, but yet you still feel bloated, you still feel inflamed, you still feel hormonally off, and you're still metabolically stuck. And so then what do? Is we try to do that same trick, but harder. It's like, well, if I'm trying to hit 100 grams of protein a day and I'm not feeling good, then I'm going to hit 120, or maybe I need to hit 150. And it's like, I am telling you right now, protein is not the problem. Your understanding and execution of what you think is protein or what you've been taught is protein, that is the problem, okay? Because we're off. And it's just time to talk about it, right? It's time to talk about why we think we're like eating healthy when very clearly your health is still not right, okay? So protein, like I said, I am team protein. I'm not anti-protein at all. I just think we're not understanding exactly what this whole conversation around eating more protein should be. And I think we're getting kind of pushed that narrative, especially from the perimenopausal female. How often are we just like shoved this concept of protein down our throats, right? So protein has become kind of this like golden child, right? We love it. But this like golden child of the wellness industry, influencers are swearing by it. Every brand in their right mind is selling protein in some form imaginable. We have all of these macro calculators online that spit out these like magical numbers that like promise these metabolic miracles if we're eating or reaching X amount of protein a day. But here's the catch. Protein in isolation without the other adequate macronutrients to balance it out is not as blood sugar stabilizing as you'd think. I know, I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this, absolutely. But things like pure protein, like just sitting and drinking a protein shake, not blood sugar stabilizing at all, right? People think that it is because you can't see how hard your body is having to work to make your blood sugars look pretty. This is one of the hard concepts that you can't even catch with the trend of like continuous glucose monitors that people are wearing or measuring your glucose trends. I see so many people that have been told your blood sugars look normal. Meanwhile, what they're not factoring in is how much cortisol is being needed right now to keep your blood sugars looking normal. How much insulin is being needed right now to keep your blood sugar looking normal. These are the things that people are not considering, and they're just strictly eating in a way that's satisfying some sort of macro calculator. It's not working. They still feel awful. And so then they try the same thing harder, because someone has ingrained to them, oh, if it's not working, you must not be doing it right. It's like, no, you can just ditch that entirely, because I'm telling you that protein in isolation is not as blood sugar stabilizing as you'd think, especially our current understanding of protein. In fact, actual like that habit alone can actually alter or spike someone's glucose on a daily basis, especially if you're doing a lot of the powdered protein sources or like bottled protein drinks with a lot of the other artificial ingredients and artificial sweeteners in that as well too. So just without getting into too much of the science behind it, just understand that more protein does not necessarily mean better blood sugar control. We've got to stop teasing those. We have to start teasing those two apart a little bit, because everybody and their mom went on this trend of like keto, low carb, high protein, everything. And we're still very, very metabolically sick. We just have opposite blood sugar problems. It's not the blood sugar highs. It's the blood sugar lows that individuals are not understanding is then going to call upon excessive amounts of cortisol to have to fix it. Right? So it's just this whole trend of people being very pushy on protein, especially putting protein into everything, and every single food brand on the market switching their entire marketing strategy towards adding protein into something that is very much not a protein product. Stop falling for it. Stop falling for it. Okay, that's all I have to say. I teach my patients all the time. I talk about it in my Master Your Metabolism Masterclass. If you have not taken my Master Your Metabolism Masterclass, go to my website immediately and purchase the Master Your Metabolism Masterclass for a true 6-week boot camp so I can teach you what it really looks like to eat in a way that balances your blood sugar. With my patients and in that program, I tell people like one of the very first modules in there is stop falling for things that have a protein label on them when it is very clearly not a protein. Protein oatmeal is not protein. You cannot count the protein in oatmeal as a protein. Do you really think that your body is going to have the hormonal response to protein oatmeal? No, it's having the hormonal response of oatmeal. So stop trying to make oatmeal a protein. It is not a protein. I don't care how much protein that we add into it. Same thing goes with protein pasta, protein chips, protein waffles, protein oatmeal, protein drinks. I'm like, stop. Like, that's not the benefit of protein that we were really thinking of. And not to mention is like all of this like fake marketing ploy around protein, honestly, just doing us a disservice because we're counting these macros and hitting these arbitrary protein numbers without really seeing the return on investment of that. All of that protein push, guys, it is ruining your gut. Not good. Okay. What we're honestly missing is protein is only as helpful as you can digest it and absorb it. So the very real scenario is most people are struggling to actually properly digest their food and absorb the appropriate amount of amino acids from the food that they're actually eating, because most people are walking around with low stomach acid, excessive amounts of dysbiosis, which is really a fancy way of saying they have too many bad guys in their gut and not enough good guys in their gut. They are high amounts of stress. They are on multiple medications, birth control, which causes leaky gut, proton pump inhibitors, which lower your stomach acid. Like, all of this just contributes to the inability to properly break down and absorb the protein that you're eating anyway. So instead of really like actually digesting that chicken and breaking it down into amino acids, it really just becomes this process of like fermentation, putrefaction in the gut, which then leads to bloating and leads to inflammation. So it's like you're not even absorbing the benefits when you're out there eating like all of these like protein products or trying to hit some arbitrary protein goal of the day, and you're actually like kind of making things worse. So even though I say that, I'm still team protein. I just want to teach people how to eat in an actual blood sugar balanced way. And it's not just isolating protein out of our diet and shoving different protein products down our throat and moving through the day that way. I see more individuals that come to me, and if you look at their like food log on paper, it's like protein shake in the morning. Maybe they have some like chicken sausages, some sort of tuna at lunch. They have a dinner that's maybe like I don't know, some more chicken or chicken product or a chicken meatball of some sort. And they're like, I don't get it. I don't know why I can't lose weight. I'm like, I haven't seen one iota of a plant or fiber anywhere, right? They don't realize that their blood sugars are a wreck. Their gut is a wreck because they've been pushed this narrative of protein, and it ain't it. Okay, so I just feel like protein needs a rebrand. We need to understand that true protein is not a protein additive to a product that is actually a carb. Okay, so stop like trying to make like protein chips, protein bars, protein Pop-Tarts, protein waffles, protein shakes. Like that is not protein. You are not going to see the health benefits by eating that way. I'll be the first to say it. I can take all the hate in the world. That's okay. Trust though that you are going to feel like a different person when you start to recognize food the way that your body recognizes food. And the way that your body recognizes food is just as a simple category. So if you want to eat protein, that's great, but we're getting protein from animals. That's where protein comes from, right? We're eating beef, we're eating chicken, we're eating fish, we're eating varieties that come from an animal. We're not trying to make protein sweet. Protein should be savory. Okay, so it's like that is just what we have to wrap our mind around. And the more that we try to make protein something it's not, you're getting farther and farther and farther away from feeling good. Not to mention, if you're shoving all this protein down your throat, you're probably not really focused on fiber. And this is where I think like in 2026, if we can kind of leave the focus of protein alone a little bit, we can really start to focus on the emphasis on fiber, which is the real MVP in this scenario. What your metabolism really wants, it's not sexy, it's fiber. It is whole food fiber. I'm not talking about your morning Metamucil, because then we're just doing the same thing that we did with protein. We try to powder it and mix it into something we can just drink back. No, people, I am not talking about your morning Metamucil. I'm not talking about your Fiber One brownie. I'm not talking about your fiber gummies. I'm talking about like food matrix fiber that comes from eating plant matter. Okay, very simple. We talk about this concept called a food matrix in nutritional science, and it is the process of how much stomach real estate a food takes up. That's a good thing. We have all these people out there running around looking for weight loss peptides and appetite suppressants and GLP-1 medications. I love that. That's great. But did you know how you can stimulate your own natural GLP-1? Do you know what the most powerful appetite suppressant is? Fiber. And eating it in the form of something that actually takes up stomach real estate and digests slowly over the course of the next 4 hours and doesn't have any of those side effects? Probably fiber. So when this interacts then with your gut microbiome, not only do you create your own natural satiety hormones like GLP-1 pathways, it's like the very same pathway of all of this Ozempic crave, but it reduces your appetite, improves your insulin sensitivity along the way, and it fills up the stomach with that way to then have that nice blood sugar stability. It also regulates our hormones. It helps us detox estrogen. It feeds all of those keystone bacteria in the gut. And yet in this like protein obsession era that we're in, we've replaced all of this like concept of like plants and food matrix for like something that we drink, something that's powdered, something that's mixed together. And then we wonder why we're hungry every 2 hours. And it's like, oh, I have a lot of food noise. I'm like, that's called hunger. And it's because we're not understanding how to eat in a way that our body actually understands. We're trying to biohack it as some like astronaut food and bypass the proper digestion, absorption, satiety hormones, and blood sugar signaling response that our body actually understands. So when we eat in a way that our body actually understands, it works beautiful. And like I said, we don't need quite as many of those like interventions or quite as much of that franticness around food. So really, like I said, having the focus on protein, what we need to think about is we've really ditched the fiber component, and we need to make fiber the rock star of the meal and protein more of a side, versus the veggies or our fiber being almost like a garnish. It's like an extra sometimes. And then we focus on like protein. And I just think that that's gotten us backwards. It's very broken. And it's why so many individuals come to me and the lowdown really wondering why they feel worse when they feel like they're doing everything right. So you could be eating 140 grams of protein a day, but if you're not producing enough stomach acid to even digest and break it down in the first place, that protein is just going to ferment and putrefy in the gut and cause bloating and brain fog and constipation and poor neurotransmitter production, systemic inflammation, not to mention that you're still going to be protein deficient. You're still going to not have all of those amino acids that your body needs to build lean muscle, to build hormones, to build neurotransmitters. It's not just what you're eating. It's also what your body can do with what you eat. And that's why, like I said, my work and helping individuals understand a new, simpler strategy to think about food and to fuel themselves goes well beyond this macros game. I wish that we would just stop with that, because if it was going to work, it would have worked a long time ago. You have to understand how to work with your gut, with your mitochondria, with your immune system, with your hormones. This is a system that lives together, not in silos, and neither should your nutrition. So the truth is, like I said, in summary, protein is not bad, but protein over everything else is honestly lazy nutrition. It's really lazy. It's incomplete. And meanwhile, we have all these people that are so hyper-focused on protein that they're putting this really great work in to try to hit some arbitrary protein goals, but they still feel awful. And it's because we're skipping fiber, we're fearing carbs in general, and we're wondering why we're gaining weight, we're constipated, and we're inflamed. It's like, you're not broken. Your body is not broken. You're just following some very outdated advice. And that's where I would really invite you to really think about this differently, especially, like I said, in my Master Your Metabolism Masterclass, I teach this concept of balance bowls. And this is a no math, no app needed method to learn how to build meals that actually nourish your body, regulate your hunger and satiety naturally, support detoxification, and heal your metabolism at the root cause. It's simple, it's satisfying, it is science-backed, and this is where I think we're ready for this going into 2026, because I hear such amazing feedback from individuals all of the time when I help them understand food in a way that their body wants to understand food. I hear things like, why isn't everybody teaching nutrition like this? If I heard that one more time, it's like, I know, I want to get this out to the masses. Or someone else saying, this is the first time I've ever felt food freedom. And she feels amazing with it, right? It's like food freedom is actually being able to understand food the way your body understands food, and having the freedom of no more macros, no more stress, just finally understanding how to fuel themselves in any food environment. My whole goal is to be able to pluck you out of any food environment and drop you in and be like, here. And you're like, oh yeah, I know what to do. I got this. It's when you start to understand the way that your body metabolizes food and it just being a category that it can be so liberating. So if you're interested in that, obviously we can do that in our one-on-one work together, but also to get started yesterday, go to my website, go under my on-demand courses and click on my Master Your Metabolism course. It is a 6-week on-demand experience that you can start anytime and really start to finally understand food the way that your body understands food. So in synopsis, we have to, like I said, I think going into 2026, let's really try to leave this whole protein craze, hitting these arbitrary protein target goals and filling it with protein pieces that really aren't actually proteins. You're not going to get anywhere. And trust that, like I said, you're probably also making the situation worse by doing that. I think in 2026, the new focus really should be fiber, but also bringing then revamping and rebranding our focus around what protein truly is and what it looks like to eat in a way that our body actually understands as well too. So it's simple, it's fun, it's easy. We're going to eat every day for the rest of our life, multiple days or multiple times a day for the rest of our life. So might as well learn how to do it, right? So hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, this is just part one of this 3-part series of outdated trends that I hope to see die in 2025 and what we're actually going to be bringing into 2026. Tune in next week as I'll have part 2.